Morning. How are you? I was assisting in an unfamiliar studio with a producer I'd never met before. Maybe 2013, 2014, something like that. I was assured that it was going to be a very simple, straightforward session. It was a studio I wasn't totally familiar in. I'd done a couple of sessions on, but I wasn't totally familiar with it. I was doing a favour to the owner. I sort of regret this now because it was a bit naive of me. And the guy had said, we're just going to do vocals, it's going to be really simple. And then when he came in, he wanted to do all of this elaborate shit. The way it was sort of sold to me was that I would be essentially just sort of like looking after the studio and just making sure everyone was all good, not totally assisting. And then when the guy came, he wanted much more than he had sort of said. He'd said, I just want to do a vocal session, and then he ended up wanting to do loads of really complicated routing and all of this stuff. And we'd told him beforehand that we were just about to get stuff serviced, so there was a few things that weren't quite working right. One of them was the 47. Yeah, he had this huge tantrum about it, like full on, like screaming in my face, and saying that I'd ruined the sound of his record because he couldn't use a 47. He was sort of screaming, the sound of this record is of you, Norman, you 47 into a Neve with a space echo, and you fucking ruined it. All of that stuff. As an assistant, you just sort of take it. And I remember just sort of being stood there as he's sort of bellowing at me in my face, just thinking, man, this is the lamest shit ever. Like this is fucking weak. This is weak shit. Like, your whole value of your creative outlet is being placed on something you have no control over, on a microphone that you don't own, in a studio that you've never been to. And I just thought that I will never do that. Especially, the world that we live in, and you're getting upset about a microphone. And I do know this person's name, and they're still working, and I'm sure they're still a fucking idiot. They've bought my samples, actually, which is kind of funny. In the editing of this, 1, I cut my hair. 2, I realised that there was a little bit more to this story, and sort of this situation had happened where the guy was sort of screaming at me, and I then ran into our neighbour in the studio, who's Steve Mackey, and he said, what do you need? Do you need any gear? And then I was obviously a bit sort of shell-shocked at this, because it was quite unusual that people would sort of scream. And I'd explained to him, and he was like, I wouldn't worry about it, mate. The music sounds shit. Which was the support that I needed at that time. And yes, Steve lent me a Little Lamb's Red Eye, which is a reamp and DI box. I went out the next day and bought my own, which is this, and it's come with me to every single session that I've ever done since, and I've used it in so many different ways. It's a very boring piece of gear, but it is phenomenal. Thanks, Steve. As much as we'd like to plan our sessions and things and say, I'm going to do this, I'm going to do that, there's every possibility, and I know this now, I didn't know this then, but there's every possibility you're going to turn up at a studio and they're going to go, oh man, it broke yesterday. And it's like, well, okay, cool. The proper engineer's pivot. I don't ever want to be in a position where my ability to create music or make something is reliant on one piece of gear. If I don't have this, I won't be able to mix, or if I don't have this, I won't be able to do that. Whatever it is I use, I want to be in control of that thing. I don't want to be using something that I'm not understanding what it's doing, or that I'm reliant on that piece of gear or that piece of software. If I get this, then my thing will suddenly be good. Bullshit. Don't believe it. It's a weird sort of camera angle, this, isn't it?